So I'm going to jump straight into it. This episode is about the New York Times bestseller book list. And is a self-published book even possible to get on this list? I understand the appeal. If you get that badge, if you get on the New York Times bestseller list, you have that forever. Not only for your book, but for you as an author. When I publish my book, I can say, Zach Christensen, New York Times best-selling author, if I made it on the list. So let's jump into the episode today. I'm excited for you to be here and understand how to navigate this list. This is Your Path to Publish. I'm your host, Zach Christensen. For the past decade, our team has guided authors just like you to find the best path to publish your book, get people excited to buy it even before it launches, and to turn it into the ultimate business card to build your business and your legacy. If you are ready to get your book out of your head and into people's hands, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. So to kick off, before we jump into this, one great way to compare the New York Times bestseller list is to compare it to a game. I really enjoy board games. I played a lot of them growing up. Me and my friends would get together and play all sorts of different games. Played simple ones, we played board games, epic games, strategy games, all sorts of games. And each of those games had rules. Some were more loose, some were more fluid, some were so loose that it would take us 4 hours to get through a couple of turns. Others were more timely and were able to get the game done and finished within an hour or two. But the important part of it was understanding the rules of the game. Now, what's interesting about bestseller book lists is sometimes you kind of know the rules of the game, sometimes you don't, and even then, you're not the game maker. You're not the one controlling and making the full decision of what's going to happen within the game. So let's restate. Can a self-published book become a New York Times bestseller? Well, it depends. It is certainly possible, and there have been books that have accomplished this, but it's difficult. So let's go into understanding exactly how the New York Times bestseller list works. So this list is based on books sold over multiple different resources, including online bookstores, such as the biggest one we all know, Amazon, Barnes & Noble stores, which are brick and mortar as well as online. But it also emphasizes independent bookstores and other potentially remote online book retailers. So it's not just about having raw sales numbers. They also take into account bulk book sales. If you sell over 10 books in one transaction, that could be classified as a bulk book sale. And if you have too many of those, you may not make the list. Now, there has been a lot of controversy over the list, and I'm not going to get into that here. But basically, one thing that New York Times bestseller list has the prerogative to do is to decide, even if your book has enough sales, they could say, you know what, we're going to hold on putting this book on our list for a variety of reasons that they may or may not disclose. So the challenge for a self-published author is being able to expand their distribution. Even if you're using print on demand or you're using networks like Ingram Spark, BookBaby, or Kindle Direct Publishing and have some sort of expanded distribution, the challenge is that your books are not going to be guaranteed to be in those brick and mortar stores and those independent bookstores. And that's wherein lies the challenge, because otherwise you can have the best marketing, you can have the best plan to market your book. And if most of your books are sold through Amazon, there's still a chance you might get on the New York Times bestseller list, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. And you hope that from there, if you sell enough books through there, that word of mouth will travel and then other stores will want to carry your book. So let's say you don't quite have the network, the budget, or the reach yet to get your word out and get enough books sold so that it travels by word of mouth. So how do you get your self-published book into stores? You make sure, however your distribution process works, whether it's print on demand, that there is an option for stores to order it. They got to have that option. And then you start reaching out to the stores directly. Talk about what options there are potentially for authors and for ways for you to promote their store and their book, or even do a book signing or offering free signings, whatever it is. Find some type of way to give value to the bookstore that they'll want to carry your book. There are several different bookstores around the nation, independent bookstores, that do hold virtual author events for those within their community or those that they've tried to build and connect with that have an online store presence as well. So if you understand who their audience is and you match with their audience, they may consider you for one of their book events that they are putting on. Another thing that can help drive the potential for your book to be ordered by independent bookstores or other brick-and-mortar stores is to have strong pre-order numbers. By having those strong pre-order numbers, that will build momentum and create early momentum and help the sales reps who make decisions on who they pitch the book to and whether or not they're going to carry a book in a store or not. That will get their attention to be able to say, hey, this might be a book worth putting in our store. Timing plays a crucial role. If you have a book that's a seasonal book or a book that's better for a certain time of year based on the current culture or trends, make sure that your book aligns with that timing. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this list, as well as any other bestseller list, is just because if you make the list, it does not mean your book will stay on that list and that it will continue to sell how it did during that first week. Because you still have to hit within a week's time a certain number, or on the New York Times list, they do have monthly numbers that you do have to hit in order to be eligible to be on the list. So let's look at some quick examples of people who have been self-published authors and made the bestseller list. One is The Martian by Andy Weir. Now, one thing that's interesting that Andy Weir had done is he started posting chapters of the book on his blog and started build a following from there. And when the time was right, self-published the book, and the book was eventually picked up by a publisher. But that book had made it to the New York Times list even before it made it to a traditional publishing route. Another is 50 Shades of Grey that started out as self-publishing. There are many books that have gone the self-publishing route and then made it to New York Times list and then have been able to go on traditional publishing status. So to wrap up, it is possible for a self-published author to hit the New York Times bestseller list, but you need to be very deliberate about it, have the distribution ready, and have the marketing ready to go to help push it there and get the sales that you need within that 1 week period. And most importantly, ask yourself why. Why do I want to be on this list? What is it going to add value for me and what I'm doing as an author? Having that badge can help get your foot in the doors. It can help build up your brand as an author, especially if you're a speaker, consultant, or coach, to show that you have a signal, some type of signal that your book has done well and that it has some degree of quality to it. So thank you for tuning in today. Be sure to give us a review and share with a friend that you know would benefit from this. That helps us connect with the authors that we would best fit with. And on next week's episode, we'll be talking about how much do you pay a literary agent? That can be confusing. And with all the different options and publishing options out there today, you want to understand what the role of the agent is, what the charges are, so that you will make sure that you get the best value for what you're investing in with an agent. If you have a question about a recent episode you'd like to submit, visit juxtabook.com/yourpathtopublish and click the appropriate button to leave your question. You can also look at the show notes to get the link as well. Go out there, get your manuscript started on again, turn it into a book that grows your expertise, impact, and your business.